Hello, I'm Terry David Mulligan, and this is Mulligan Stew, the podcast. Some of these interviews have just been done, turned around, and gotten to you. Some, like this one with Molly Johnson, there was so much conversation going on her part, I might add. The whole interview would not fit in the show because we were there to talk to Molly, but also to play the tracks from her new album called Meaning to Tell You, produced by Larry Klein. Google Larry Klein. Molly Johnson, she's a songwriter, she's an activist, she's an actor, a storyteller, a hell of a singer, and doesn't just give on stage. She gives off stage as well and makes her hometown of Toronto so much better by her presence, which is why I believe she was awarded the Order of Canada, the highest honor that any civilian in Canada can aspire to. She also has a jazz festival at the Kensington Market in Toronto that she's trying to keep alive, and she'll give you some dates in this interview. As an interviewer, what you have to do with an artist like Molly Johnson is ask the question and get out of the way, which I hope is exactly what I did. Here's Molly Johnson and her new album, Meaning to Tell You. The one comment that you said that you wanted to have stand out and does stand out is that you have been waiting all your life to make this record. But if you could expand on that slightly, in that you've been making records a long time, been making music a long time.
Yeah.
What is it about this particular album, this time, this place?
Well, two things. I got the dream producer, Larry Klein, who's produced some of the greatest vocal jazz records
Ever.
in this period, and a full stop. He's a remarkable person. We spent more time talking about books and life and culture. It was a master class. And I was given that kind of an opportunity for the very first time in my entire recording career. Number one, Larry Klein.
Sure.
Number two, I brought Canada's A-band. More importantly, Larry came to Canada and got in a room with us boneheads. And, Canada is, if we have a lot of something, it's talent, creativity, voice, incredible voice, incredible musicians, incredible poets, dancers, you name it, we got it. We got it in spades, and we're getting pretty darn good at it. And I put my dream band in a room with Larry Klein in downtown Toronto, a studio I could literally walk to, which is good because I don't drive.
Yeah.
So this is the record that tremendous support from the label, like jokes, support, unbelievable, what the hell. Apparently, Terry, and you'll appreciate this, I'm a legacy artist. You know why? You know why, Terry?
Why?
Explained to me by my beloved label.
What?
I outlived all the assholes. So holy smokes, we had so much fun making the record. I got to go to Los Angeles and hang around with Larry twice, eat dinner with him with his family, read books, just fantastic experience. And out of it came a great record.
It kind of begs a question, Molly. How did you survive while we're at that point?
Well, I'm, the daughter of not one, but two American civil rights leaders, one white and one black. Like nothing says Teflon like a mixed-race couple in 1950 in the United States of America. So clearly I inherited outrageous genes from, my dad who played pro ball when they were wearing leather helmets and holding their arms out.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was going to do something. Like I come from hearty, strong, excellent roots.
But I'm not telling you anything you don't know. But we've all had friends drop away, either through drugs or lifestyle or whatever.
Right. Well,
and you're still standing.
Well, 100%. I'm still standing, and for a couple of reasons there. One, I got my ACTRA card when I was 6 months old. Like, there's never been opportunity for me to go, I think I'll be a lawyer. These things were decided for me out of the box.
Sure.
and I've raced to keep up with it all. Expectation, right? From grade 3 teachers who knew I was doing a Mervis show that night. Oh, of course she's not going to know her multiplication tables. And does she even need to? My answer was yes. In fact, I did need to and now don't, and spend a lot of money with accountants. So kind of born into the business in a big way.
Did you ever lose your way?
Every single day I lose my way. Every single day I have to go, what now do I do? What is my next thing? So born into it, and, I don't really have a lot of other skills. I don't type. I don't drive. I'm an excellent mother. Excellent. Ask them. They will tell you. And I've always kept church and state, Terry.
Sure.
Music is this, my personal life, my family, the way I live my life with my family, my canoe trips, my camping, my life up north, my boys. This is my friends. I have friends that don't even really remember that I am a musician. Sort of surprising when they hear a song on the radio and they go, "Oh yeah, that's what she does."
You know that
that's kept me alive.
You know that hair that you have on the front cover of the album that's just like half an acre wide?
That's mine.
I would kill to see that hair in a canoe.
Yeah, well, it's in a braid.
Yeah.
Under a cap.
Yes.
Which is where I keep that hair.
Yes.
Unless I'm doing showbiz stuff.
Yes.
And then out it comes.
Yeah.
And the way you keep that hair is you stay the hell away from hairdressers. People go, "What do you do to your hair?" I said, "Well, kind of nothing."
That's what it is.
That's what it is. And ladies, that's what it is. I took a long, hard look at the political statement of letting your hair be your hair. Why do we girls feel that this diminishes us?
Yes.
Why have we been sold this bill of goods that we are useless? I could go on and on and on about that.
Okay,
but I think I'm really trying to express that on the album cover.
Well, okay.
Like it's big and bold and powerful, and there's lots of hair.
Oh, is there ever? It is.
Man.
It reaps. It just reaches out and grabs you. That's what I love about it. But
right.
You did mention something before we get to this music, and maybe it even actually shows itself in the music, and I'm sure it does. You talked about the girls. You're talking to the girls out there, but what a time to be watching this story unfold about the power of women in all walks of life, everywhere, totally, socially changing everything. What's it like to be in the middle of it?
Well, you know what? I was, again, born into it. I mean, my life was people like June Callwood, Rosemary Brown, Beverly Salmon, Barbara Hall, my gosh darn mother. I can't tell you the groups of women that gathered at our kitchen table with my mother and discussed in the 60s, called themselves the Voice of Women, one of the first feminist groups in Canada, the Voice of Women. So I've seen this move, and lucky enough to have parents that gave me such an incredible sense of self that I personally don't have a Me Too moment, personally. Because I think I was just born a badass. Quite frankly, I've been told you actually scared me a little bit, Molly. Well, good.
That's good.
But, falling, you asked a question about why didn't drugs get me?
Yeah.
Here's why drugs didn't get me. And I lived at the Cameron Public House on Queen Street for 10 years.
Wow.
And did not become a heroin addict. And this is back to the last record I made, which is the Billy record. And I did not become a heroin addict because of Billy, because of my parents, because of all the insane opportunity and privilege I have because of them. Could I step into being a heroin addict? Would I have had, and, he's passed away, but a father that adored me? Billy didn't even really know the guy's name, she had to go look at. I couldn't allow that to happen to me based on my privilege that came with such hard fight. that's what kept me in the room with those guys, but not actually doing those drugs.
I'm thrilled to talk to you and have you as a friend, even if it's long distance.
It is long distance.
It is.
But we're all in Canada.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Molly Johnson, the album is called Meaning to Tell You. It's going to be, what a year you're going to have. I was looking at the covers. It starts with Inner City Blues, which I love. It's Marvin Gaye, of course. Of course it is. The other one, there's two that kills me. I've been playing Inner City Blues from the moment I heard the first lick and the first riff. But I'm going to be hosting a jazz show on Saturday, and because I've already programmed Lady Day and John Coltrane, and then I see that you cover Gil Scott-Heron's Lady Day and John Coltrane. I just want you to just tell us why that particular track made its way onto your album.
Well, the first time I really got to sit down with Larry Klein was in his garage in Los Angeles. And I walked up in there, and you get past those gold records and all that stuff that he's so he's practically Canadian, Larry Klein. You get up into his garage, and he had every record I'd ever made, all the way back to Ultimoda. Like, he had stuff that I'd done when I was 21 years old. And, I'm in my 50s. It's a lot of stuff. And he had a chalkboard. And he'd written down, 30 songs. Because I like to record covers. I really love writing my own stuff. It gives me insane pleasure. I love when you co-write with people, that relationship is so wonderful. But I like a couple of covers. And Lady Day and John Coltrane is the genius of Larry Klein, because I'd made that Lady Day record, and it was the beautiful bridge from jazz to maybe something else, and that maybe something else is Gil Scott-Heron. He's definitely something else.
And playing the role of John Coltrane was Bob Shepard.
That's right. I grew up listening to Gil Scott-Heron. One of my parents loved that guy. They love Billy too. So that was just an amazing. I looked at it. He played it for me. I have all these songs that just like the title jumped out. I said, "What is that again? Play me that." And he played that, and I went, "Yeah." Inner City Blues. I mean, he said this needs to be sung by someone like you. And I said, "Oh man, I don't think I can cover Marvin Gaye. Geez, he's the holy grail." And he said, "Molly, you covered Billy. I think you can deal with Marvin Gaye." I went, "Oh, yeah, maybe. Well, let's try it."
And did you talk about the shelf life of the lyrics, that they're still relevant today?
I talk about that every time.
Yeah, sure.
This is exactly, and that is exactly why I recorded it like that. There's no fancy production on it.
Yeah.
I stripped all the way back to the bare meat and potato of it. What is it that resonates today from 1971? And it's those lyrics. So we just recorded it like that.
She is Molly Johnson. The album is Meaning to Tell You. I'm thrilled to have her on the show, but also on the podcast. I love that. And you had Larry Klein as a partner and working with. When you look on the back of Joni Mitchell's travelogue, for example, which is, I think, 2-3 CDs, there's only two names on it: Larry Klein, Joni Mitchell. And
That's right.
I'm looking at those titles and I'm thinking, wow, you could have covered any one of these songs. Did you?
Yeah. Here's the thing about that.
Yeah.
First of all, Joni hates it when people cover her tunes.
Okay.
It drives her nuts. Drove Prince nuts too, by the way.
It's a shame about that Woodstock single. Yeah.
Yeah, write your own damn tunes. She's not cool with that, and frankly, it just isn't my thing. It's Joni is, I don't know, magical.
But
it's not. It doesn't fit me like.
Okay, but you did cover Leonard.
Well, that was another crazy moment with Larry Klein, who, as it turns out, was a very good friend of Leonard Cohen's. Very good friend. And I gotta be honest and say, for decades, I kind of made jokes about Leonard Cohen's voice in my musical friend circle. And the key in which he sang things in, always hilarity ensued. Well, don't you know, that thing gets slapped in front of me, and I don't need to even change the key. Because I, too, have an old, crusty old voice. And that was hilarious to me. And the song is just so perfect for me. It's so perfect for me. And, you know, everybody does those very obvious Leonard songs. I don't even want to say the name out loud, just in case it inspires somebody to run out and make another bad version of it.
Of course.
You know, we all heard Katie Lang do it, and everybody put their hand in the air, including Leonard.
Yeah.
Nobody needs to hear that again from anybody else but her.
That's it.
That's it. That's the bar. Just
exactly.
Never mind everybody else. Just stop American Idol. Everybody. I love that the publishing, the copyright makes money for the family. I think that's beautiful. So on that tip, I love that. I love that, you know, as any good music accountant will say to you, you're better dead up than alive. You're worth more money dead than alive. That's a good accountant.
Here's what I love most about you doing Boogie Street. Here's what I love most about it. The fact that you did it. And secondly, it sounds like you walked into Willie Mitchell's studio in Memphis with his house band and all those little organ licks, and I thought, and a horn section. I'm thinking, this is cool.
Yeah, we had so much fun with it. But you know, my vocals are often just exactly like that. I just walk in. I usually have a cigarette, and then I just walk in and I just do it, and that's what it is. And we don't mess around with it too much, and I don't do it a whole bunch more time because, well, they're all going to be good. So why not just, you know, this is what it was at that moment in time. That's what this vocal did. This is what it sounded like. This is what it did.
We're talking about the covers on Molly Johnson's new album, but the original songs, Gone, Stop, Protest Song, I've been meaning to tell you the title track, Love, Love, and Together. I can't talk about them all, but which ones are nearest and dearest?
Well, meaning to tell you, and better than this, were written with my old songwriting pal, Steve McKinnon, who's from Vancouver.
Yep.
He's a Vancouverite, beloved son of, and dear, dear, dear friend and great songwriter. We can do that kind of stuff with our eyes closed, and we usually do. The surprise was Davide DiRenzo, one of Canada's favorite drummers. He certainly is the singers in Canada's favorite drummers. Mm-hmm. He's just a remarkable musician. We got to talking about, because he plays with me live a lot, about songs that make people want to get up and move. Let's make a record where we can write some songs where people want to get up and move, and maybe songs where people can sing along. So he gave me the track to Protest Song, which was drums and a very lazy guitar that he played, and a bit of piano that he played, because he's a divine musician. And I was on one of these wretched jazz tours in Cuba with way too many fans, so I locked myself in my hotel room most of the time, and I wrote Protest Song because I thought it was time. I thought about it as a lullaby to your protest march. So that's so Canadian. And it really speaks about singing together. And speaking of together, Mike Downs, who looks like a cop, for crying out loud, or an RCMP officer, threw down the funkiest track on the record, Together. Not only did he write that, but Michael, who's an upright bass player, who, of course, like all bass players, in his basement as a kid in Winnipeg, had a Fender Precision and played along to Rush, played along to Getty, right?
Yep.
But then he carried on with that. So the beauty of Mike was that all of a sudden we had 16-year-old Mike in the band. Not the mastered head of the bass department, professor, father, husband extraordinaire, musician extraordinaire. No, we had 16-year-old Mike from the basement of his mom's house. Awesome. Just awesome. Oh, that Mike. Wow.
Oh.
I don't know that Mike. Not only that, but Larry Klein has won Grammys for his bass playing. And Mike's now actually playing a different instrument because it's very different from an upright bass. The timing, everything's different. And Michael played every bass track on that album on his 16-year-old Fender bass. which I thought to me was just fantastic.
I have to ask you about the Hot AC single.
What does that mean?
That means the hit. I mean, it's not the one that you're going to release as a single.
Oh.
But when you and I were talking about it when we first started, I didn't get that conversation on record, but the track is called Gone. And the name that jumps out at me is David Berwold, who I knew from David and David and Boomtown and Tuesday Night Music Club, which is where Sheryl Crow came from,
right.
As a songwriter. As soon as I mentioned the word Gone, you weren't exactly jumping up and down. Is it not a tune that you agree with?
Oh, no, I co-wrote that thing. You know, I didn't necessarily, it sort of came out of nowhere. I wasn't really getting the lyric the way it needed to go. Larry is a friend of that guy's, so we just shot it to him, and that guy cleaned it up, tweaked it, took it in a stronger direction than I was able to, I guess is how you say that. And we had a couple of other tunes. We cut a couple of other tunes, but that tune, Larry insisted on it being on the album because I wrote it with Davide and that guy that you seem to know way more about than me. I never even met him.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, that's the internet now, right?
Of course it is.
It's ridiculous. It's good and bad.
Well, I mean, look at me. I'm in the Noose Bay, and you're at Bay and Bloor.
Exactly.
What's going on here?
What's going on here? And I hear you clear as a bell.
Thank you.
So, you know, I felt that it's a fun track, and it's going to be fun probably to do live.
Yes.
But I'm loving Love, Love, love. The lyric in that is so timely for me. Protest song is so timely for me. Hoping that when we get out to Halifax, I can convince a choir to come and join me on some of those songs. I had Allison Keys singing backgrounds on some of that stuff from Los Angeles. She was just wonderful. It's wonderful to know. You know, it's a warm, rich, soulful record. That's what we were going for, with some messaging in it, but more about supporting what we all know about that.
So who do you want to be when you grow up?
My immediate answer is Wanda Ho, which has been my joke for about 15 years now since I met this woman, who's just awesome to me. You don't know her, and too bad for you, because you probably want to be Wanda Ho too if you knew her. I'm pretty good with Molly.
Well, here's the thing. No, the reason why I ask, and you know why I ask, because the business wants to define you. We must pigeonhole you. You cannot be a floor wax and a shampoo. You must be something.
Right.
And and for me, you're an artist. You fit nicely into my jazz library, but also I pull out tunes for pop balance. So you touch all the bases. That's what I love about you.
Thank you so much. Very nice of you to say. I can't even. I just don't know. I just don't know the answer to that. I just try and stay in my lane, as Molly, right? Which is, you know, did I mention I have a driver's license? So it can be a little precarious at times.
Yeah, but there's now self-driving cars.
Apparently, but you won't see me in one of those.
Fine.
I like people. And I like to walk. This is a very walkable city. Very walkable.
Did you happen to watch the Junos this year?
Not really.
Okay.
Why?
Well, it's just that I can't find myself in them. At least not the artists that they wish to celebrate. And you can't blame them. They're doing a television show and they want that young, fresh talent out there.
Yeah.
But that's not my music. And I don't want to...
But they had Diana Krall and Michael, didn't they? They had Mr. Bublé. And
They did. They did for about 2.5 minutes. Yes, they did.
Well, you know, in television time, that's an hour.
That's a special. That's
a special.
Are you going to take this music to all the jazz festivals, and it'll fit well with the folk festivals as well?
You know what? I've applied for jazz festivals, and I've only gotten 2. I only got Halifax and Montreal. And I have my own little jazz festival. Not that I perform at Kensington Jazz. Will you please mark down 14, 15, 16?
September 14, 15, and 16, Kensington. Market the Jazz Festival over and over again. And you have, of course, your social media people.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
I love this album.
Not me.
I love this album, and I love you.
Thank you so much. That's so encouraging. I appreciate that.
I really, really, really wanted to talk to you, and I really want to support the music.
I'm really, really glad you do and did and are going to.
Here's something I don't know the answer to. Is Kumbaya alive and well?
You know what Kumbaya still is a place where people had written us into their wills. Mm. So on occasion, money sort of floats to a P.O. box. And every once in a while, I go there and take those checks to Stephen Lewis and all the wonderful work he does. It is an itch in the back of my mind, mostly because some idiot decided to call all the drugs you need to take daily to keep yourself alive a cocktail.
Oh, yeah.
So suddenly it's a party drink. Suddenly there's a cure for AIDS. There's no cure for AIDS. There's drugs that help you manage it. You can live a fairly promising life, right? But there's no cure for it at this point. But interestingly, in a lot of the studies around AIDS, they've found cures for other things, which is kind of cool. So just the cocktail notion, the party drink, the public health messaging, is it time to do that again?
Okay.
I mean, the reason I did it in the first place was I saw these dumbass university students thinking they weren't a gay hairdresser, so they weren't at risk. Remember that? 85?
Yep.
Not my problem. Oh, by the way, it is. Hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you, my friend, captain of the hockey team, you know? So that was the messaging. And do you remember with Kumbaya when Doug Gilmour showed up?
Yes.
And put a condom on the end of a hockey stick?
Yes.
Case closed. This is how we do it, boys.
Hockey heroes.
Oh, my gosh. I remember that moment, Denise Donlin and I standing there looking at him, trying to figure out what to do with him. And somebody asked him if he had a hockey stick in the car. He's the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Of course he's got a hockey stick in his car. And they were actually winning at the time.
Yeah.
Right?
And so people were paying attention.
Yes, right. That's right.
I have one last question. I'll let you go because you gave me half an hour of your life. Here we go.
Okay. Happy to.
What is the most personal song on the album and why?
Really a protest song.
Okay.
And just for the obvious reasons in that there's so much protest and it needs to be supported. And, you know, I wrote that song 2 years ago. Like 2 years. Think of how many protests we've had since that time. I was holed up in a room in Cuba, right? Writing that, but thinking about what was to come. And we're living in what was to come right now. So,
we're in the middle of it.
It's a gentle, and I hope strengthening, and there'll be some connectivity in that. Right?
Yep.
And so protest song is a silly little drum beat and lazy little guitar line, a little lyric that really only has about 6 lines in it when you think about it.
If you didn't already know, she's Molly Johnson. Thank you, Molly.
Thank you, Terry.
Large, warm hugs and thanks to Molly Johnson for giving us close to 30 minutes of her time. But she does have something to sell us and tell us. It's new music called Been Meaning to Tell You. She's going to be doing some tour dates this summer, including some of the jazz festivals. I believe this album will have a life of its own once it's set in motion, and it happened this very day. This is Mulligan's Do the Podcast. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and Google Play Music. And when you get there, if you have a moment, sign up, subscribe. You are the engine that runs the podcast. because you doing that makes a podcast invaluable. Thank you so much for being out there. We'll see you next time.